Okay, so today's video is going to be strictly about the Kundalini and Prana, but mainly about the Kundalini. And I will be using these books to go into a very great, detailed explanation of the Kundalini as well as Prana. So y'all prepare yourself, because this is going to be like real deal class and session. You will get a full understanding of the Kundalini. And many of us have no idea that the God is within us. Many of us have no idea of how to awaken this almighty God that is in us. But today, you will find out. I will be giving again a full detailed description of this mighty current that lies dormant within us. And at the end, I will give out certain meditations that will cause this mighty current to awaken or arouse in each and every one of us. But the most important thing before trying to do any of these methods, you must qualify. Otherwise, this can be detrimental. This force is the life giver, and it is also the destructive energy or the destroying energy of anything and everything. So you must qualify before tampering with this mighty current. Now, to understand just what we may be dealing with, or what we're going to be dealing with, we go into Lobsang Rampo's book, Wisdom of the Ancients. Here we shall dwell on the Kundalini. Kundalini. This is a life force. It is the life force of the body. Just as a car cannot run without having electricity to fire the mixture in the cylinders, so humans cannot live in the body without the life force of Kundalini. In Eastern mythology, the Kundalini is likened to the image of a serpent coiled up below the base of the spine. See, let me say something. This is why when you read about it in the Bible, the serpent was in the garden and the tree of life and all that, and the apple was in the tree, and the serpent told Adam and Eve to bite the apple so you can become like God. This is what it's talking about. Alright? Because the serpent in the Garden of Eden is the Kundalini, and the spinal cord is the tree of life, and the physical body is the real Garden of Eden, and the apple is the pineal gland. Alright? And your higher self is actually that voice that said, eat that apple. Alright? So you can become who you truly are. A God. Continuing on. As this special force is released or awakened, it surges up through the different chakras and makes a person aware of esoteric things. It awakens clairvoyance, telepathy, and psychometry, and enables one to live between two worlds. Parallel worlds are real, I know this shit. Moving from one to the other at will without inconvenience. The Kundalini is a dangerous thing indeed, and one should not try to awaken that Kundalini without absolutely adequate supervision from an adept. You cannot do it by reading a book. If you meddle about and waken your Kundalini the wrong way, it can lead to madness. This ass go be Christian. He'll tell you about that shit. It is one of the most dangerous things in this world to try to raise the Kundalini without knowing what you are doing. Now, to explain what he means by this, thought we was gonna use this book, but no, we're gonna be using this book instead by A.E. Powell. Y'all pay close attention to this. Before Kundalini is aroused, it is absolutely essential that a definite stage of moral purity is reached, and also that the will be strong enough to control the force. Some of the dangers connected with the serpent fire are purely physical. This is why everybody is not a Christ or a Messiah if you melanated and you have neuromelanin, because you have to qualify. Go watch my video. It's called The Truth About the Messiah. Alright? Because it is the Kundalini that makes a person a Messiah or a Christ. But anyway, moving on. Uncontrolled movement often produces intense physical pain, and it may readily tear tissues and even destroy physical life. It may also do permanent injury to vehicles higher than the physical. One very common effect of arousing it prematurely is that it rushes downward into the lower centuries of the body instead of upward, resulting in the excitation of the most desirable passions, which are apt to be intensified to such a degree that it is quite impossible for the man to resist them. In the grip of such a force, he is as helpless as a swimmer in the jaws of a shark. Damn. Such men become satyrs, monsters of depravity, being at the mercy of a force out of all proportion to the human power of resistance. It is probable that they will attain certain supernatural powers, but these will serve only to bring them into contact with the subhuman beings with which humanity is intended to hold no commerce. And to escape from this tribedom may take more than one incarnation. Damn. So if you raise it the wrong way, basically speaking, you can attract low-dimensional astral beings that will feed on you, alright, and probably torment your ass. Now, continuing on, there is a school of black magic which purposely uses this power in this way, but the lower force centuries which in this school are used are always left severely alone by followers of the good law or white magic. Now, when they're talking about these schools of black magic which purposely use this power in this way, it's strictly talking about the elites, okay? The motherfuckers that practice sacrifice, blood sacrifice, human sacrifice. That shit is low dimension. And that shit is low vibrational, okay? It is low dimension. So if you do anything that produces a low vibration, you're only going to attract that which is in a low dimension, because you sent out a low fucking vibration. Fear is a low vibration. Murder, pain, suffering, depression, all of this is a low vibration. Okay? Sacrificing is a low vibration. So what the fuck do you think you're going to get in return? This is the law of attraction. You get what you put out when you deal with these cosmic laws. It's just that simple. Alright, moving on. The premature unfoldment of Kundalini intensifies also everything in the nature, reaching in fact the lower evil qualities more readily than the good. Let me read that again. I don't think y'all heard me. The premature unfoldment of Kundalini intensifies almost everything in the nature, reaching, in fact, the lower evil qualities more readily than the good. This is why your chakra centers must be balanced. Because if you have one chakra center too open, the Kundalini, once it is awakened, will intensify that chakra. So if your ass can't control your sexual urges and you awaken that Kundalini, guess what your ass gonna wind up being? 9 times out of 10, you're gonna probably be a fucking rapist because you can't control that chakra center because it was not balanced when you awakened that mighty current. So this is not a energy to be played with. So you must be balanced. You must qualify, all right, in order to be a Christ. Because once you awaken Kundalini, your ass gonna be a Christ or a Messiah, okay? Because Christ and Messiah basically the same shit. So you must be balanced. This is what it's all about as far as qualifying. Now let me continue. There are some cases where Kundalini wakes spontaneously, so that a dull glow is felt. It may even, though rarely, begin to move of itself. Yeah, I've experienced that shit plenty of times. But moving on, in this case, it would probably cause severe pain, as since the passages are not prepared for it. It would have to clear its way by actually burning up a great deal of etheric dross, a process necessarily painful. In such cases, the force would usually rush up the interior of the spine instead of following the spiral course into which the occultist is trained to guide it. An effort of will should be made, if possible, to arrest its upward rush. But if that proves to be impossible, as is most likely, it will probably rush out through the head and escape into the atmosphere, probably doing no harm further than causing a slight weakening. It may also cause a temporary loss of consciousness. The really serious dangers, however, are connected not with the upwards, but with the downward rush. As already briefly mentioned, the principal function of Kundalini in occult development is to pass through the etheric 4 centuries and vivify these so that they might bring through into the physical consciousness astral experiences. Thus, the voice of silence teaches that the vivification in this manner of the eyebrow century enables one to hear the voice of the master, that is, of the ego or higher self. All right. In the voice of the silence, I know Helen Belowski, she wrote a book called The Voice of the Silence. Could be talking about that book. Now to pick up back where I left off in Wisdom of the Ancients by Lab St. Rample, concerning the Kundalini, the average human is only 1/10 conscious. Perhaps, actually, that flatters the average human. The point is that if one can raise the Kundalini, one becomes very much more conscious. One can dominate others, but when one has raised the Kundalini, one loses the desire to dominate others for self-gain. People wonder, where is the Kundalini? Where exactly is the Kundalini? Where is at the base of the spine? The question is asked. The Kundalini force actually sits midway between the organ of generation and the organ of excretion. That's known as the gooch area. It's like right between your anal cavity and a male's testicle. It's in the middle part. Alright, and actually that is your south pole. The top of your head is your north pole. Alright, let's just get that shit square. Now, having given you that information, it is suggested that you do not try experiments with the Kundalini unless you have a real guru who will help you, and you must have utter faith in that guru. Now, we just read in the Etheric Double by A.E. Powell, okay, what happens to a person if they meddle with Kundalini, having no knowledge of it, and not qualifying by not having balanced chakras, or mastering certain aspects that life gives us. All right, so you must qualify. Now, if you have no guru for the moment, remember, when the student is ready, the guru will appear. But the guru knows, and the student does not know. When the student is ready, again, the master will appear. Okay, look at this. The serpent is the serpent force of Kundalini, and the apple is the fruit of knowledge. Okay, and that is the pineal gland, or your miniature universe. This is why the kingdom is within you. So, you don't meddle with the Kundalini, or it will bite your brains. Like, literally. Okay, if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Now we take a look at what Gopi Krishna has to say in his book Kundalini for the New Age, Selected Writings of Gopi Krishna, edited by Gene Kiefer. Accelerating Brain Evolution. Okay, we go down here where I got it marked off at. What is not known or even suspected is that the expression awakening of Kundalini in the language of science denotes accelerated evolution of the brain and the activation of a dormant area in it known as Brahmorendra. The arsal through the forceful methods of Hatha yoga can be explosive and sudden. In that case, the cerebrospinal system leaps to a new bewildering activity, creating chaos in the mental world of the subject. Lightning starts to flash in his system, and his whole inner being becomes a turbulent pool of light with glistening silvery or golden threads marking the paths of the nerves through the body. The authoritative work on the subject, Panchastava, describes the inner scenario in this way. Located between the four-petaled and the six-petaled lotuses, Madhubala and Swadhisthana, at the end of the cavity of Pudenda, that is between the rectum and the genital organ. Oh, we just read about that. Well, the Lama from Tibet, Lord Saint Rinpoche, was saying Kundalini lies dormant between the gooch area. It say coiled 3 times, beaming with unbounded splendor like that of the sun, fire, or lightning, thou, O Kundalini, thus first appears the first petaled lotus. It doesn't say like that of the sun, fire, for no reason. That's Amun Ra, the hidden sun. Okay? Then the 10-petaled Mandapura, the 12-petaled Anahata, then the 16th petal Visuddha, and then the 2-petaled Anachakra. On thy way to Brahmarendra, O Parvati, daughter of the Himalayas, our obeisances to thee. Damn. Anyway, the fascinating cartographs and the Hatha Yoga books with their chakras, lotuses, and the figures of deities are not merely a figment of imagination. What? These deities we've been taught about live in us. Can you believe that shit? Or creations of the subconscious. Let me read that again. I don't think y'all heard that shit. The fascinating cartographs in the Hatha Yoga books with their chakras, lotuses, and the figures of deities are not merely a figment of imagination or creation of the subconscious. They represent a figurative rendering of the lighting efforts perceived in the interior when the power starts to operate. Luminous currents dart here and there through all the body or rise into the brain to cause an expansion of the personality and fill it with a splendor that is awe-inspiring to behold. It is for this reason that in the Taoist manuals the awakening is known as the circulation of the light. And this is what they call the microcosmic orbit. The secret of Kundalini have never been disclosed openly so far. What I am revealing is not knowledge picked up by study or gained through reflection, but gathered from my day-to-day experience for years on end. There are valuable hints scattered in the Tantras, Shaktic, Shastras, and books on Hatha Yoga, but direct experience is necessary to understand them. The fact that the awakening is attended by luminosity in the interior, particularly in the head, and sounds in the ears, are repeatedly mentioned in these treatises. Now let me say something, because I should have raised some questions. Now when I said these deities live within us, damn near every deity that we've been taught about are thought forms. Years and years of people worshiping and giving energy to the same deity. These thought forms take to themselves their own being, and they actually become a living deity on certain dimensions. Okay? Now with that being said, niggas been praying to Jesus since slavery. So on the astral, he is real. But not to your benefit, because he's only an energy vampire, because you get what you put out. And if you're sending out low vibration, begging and crying and going through shit, you're only going to attract low vibration. This is why you have never got any benefit from this thought form, this Jesus fella that was introduced to us during slavery. Okay? Because it is not on a global scale and benefit on your behalf. And this is just based off the laws of attraction, dealing with whatever energy you send out, you shall get in return. And if you're sending out low vibration as we was taught during the time of enslavement, physical bondage, then you will get that in return, low vibration. And only low beings, dimensional beings, feed off low vibration that you send out. So therefore, this is why you have gotten nowhere serving and praying to a low vibrational being. Okay? Think about this shit and incorporate cosmic law with it so that you may understand it in its full totality. This is why it only served good for the slave makers. Okay? This thought form of a Jesus person. So it is we who create these deities. Okay? By giving energy to it through thought forms, to the point to where it forms up ectoplasm. And these beings become real, living creatures, living entities of his own self. This is why you must know thyself. This is why everything is an aspect of you. Alright? Anyway, moving on. In describing the gift acquired, the words high talent or genius are not used in the ancient text, but what is stated is that the recipient of the favor from the goddess becomes a great poet, a great logician, a great mathematician, a great repository of knowledge, or an eloquent speaker. Similarly, the attainment of miraculous powers or psychic gifts known as sadhis is invariably spoken of. Alright, anyway, y'all get the point right there. Okay? So bottom line, Kundalini blesses you with all types of gifts. It's just that simple. Alright? Just that simple. Look at this. Kundalini, the evolutionary energy in human beings, is operating now as it operated in the past to produce spiritual luminaries, oracles, prophets, sages, clairvoyants, philosophers, poets, musicians, painters, scholars, scientists, and other leading minds of mankind. But what is of importance for the world to know is that the operation of this divine power is influenced to a considerable extent by the environment, the traits of character, the frame of mind, and the lifestyle of the populations or individuals in whom it is active, creating exceptional personalities for the race. Most of them are benign, but some are malignant. Now let us go into Kundalini, path to higher consciousness. Now what we are about to witness is when one arouses Kundalini the wrong way. And this will be an account of what Gopi Krishna went through whenever he awakened Kundalini the first time. Because his diet was horrible, he did not qualify to awaken Kundalini. He awakened it, but he did it the wrong way, because he did not go through the methods of that which is prescribed. He did not awaken Shiva and Shakti. He only awakened Shiva, which is the destructive energy. And what you will witness is that once a person awakens Shiva itself, it will cause all type of nervous system disorders of tremendous pain throughout your whole entire neurological system. And this is the purpose of Shakti, to bring balance to that which is destructive, being the Shiva energy, which is nothing but destruction. That's all the energy is. It is the universal element in creation that causes destruction. It is in us all. It is in the universe itself. And Shiva is the nourishing energy that brings life. Okay? This is why God and the devil will always be of one accord. This is why they are ancient lovers of one union, because it is no more than polarity shifts. You couldn't have a North Pole without a South Pole. You couldn't have a male or a female without the other. So it is, you couldn't have destruction without life or nourishment. Now let us witness the account in which Gopi Krishna went through by awakening Kundalini the wrong way. Let's go. My wife knew nothing of life and death struggle in which I was engaged, but alarmed by my strange behavior, lack of appetite, bodily disturbances, constant walks, and above all, by the anxiety and gloom on my face. She advised me again and again to consult a physician and constantly watch over my day and night, frantic with anxiety. My brother-in-law could not grasp the significance of which I related to him, but said that his guru had once remarked that if by mistake Kundalini were aroused through any other nadi nerve except Sushumna. Okay, now let's get this clear. Sushumna is the straight pathway up the spine, not on the side, straight up the spine. Hold up, let me show you. I want to be clear on this. We go into Law of Sang Rampa, Wisdom of the Ancients. Let's go to the Sushumna. Sushumna. When the Kundalini becomes awakened, it passes through the centuries of consciousness, and that is chakra centers, okay, which are actually located in the Sushumna. The Sushumna is a channel in the subtle body, which is straight through the interior of the spine. Alright? It starts right at the bottom of the spine and goes right up to the top. The spine in effect then is a tube, the hollow part of which is the Sushumna. Outside the Sushumna are two other channels. The one on the right is the Pingala, and the one on the left is Ida. They coil upwards and later unite. And what he's talking about when they unite, this actually, the Ida and the Pingala is what brings union to your left hemisphere of your brain and the right hemisphere of your brain. This unlocks that 100% consciousness within you, whereas we only use like a tenth of our consciousness. Some say even less than that, but you get the point. These three channels give rise to the Trinity, which is common to most religions. And let's be clear on this Trinity. The Trinity is Kundalini, okay, which is the Holy Ghost. Alright? Not only that, it is pituitary gland, which is Isis, the one that anoints Osiris, which is the pineal gland. And once this oily liquid is secreted, this luminescence is secreted by pituitary, it causes an immaculate conception, which is known as Horus, aka Jesus Christ. So there you have it, the Trinity. Let's get this shit straight, okay? The Trinity is the Kundalini, pituitary gland, and the pineal gland. Alright? There you have it. That's your Trinity. Now let us continue. Now what we are witnessing here are the traumas that Gopi Krishna went through. But let's pick up where we left off. Okay? My brother-in-law could not grasp the significance of what I related to him, but said that his guru had once remarked that if by mistake Kundalini were aroused through any other nadi nerve except Sushumna, there was every danger in serious psychic and physical disturbances, ending in permanent disability, insanity, or death. This was particularly the case. The teacher had said if the awakening occurred through Pingala on the right side of the spine, when the unfortunate man is literally burnt. Listen, when the when the unfortunate man is literally burnt to death due to excessive internal heat, which cannot be controlled by any external means. Internal combustion. Now, I'm going to say something. And this is going to make me question my own self. If this be the case, and could this mean that every and anybody can observe that mighty current, Kundalini, regardless of race or creed? Could this mean that even Caucasians who get burnt by the sun can observe this mighty Kundalini current? Alright, because this should raise questions. Think about it. And I say this because we have Caucasian people such as the author of Astrodynamics, Robert Bruce. He claims to have awakened Kundalini on many occurrences. So, I'm now mentally challenging my own knowledge, because we are supposed to evolve, not devolve. We are supposed to be able to challenge our own selves as far as knowledge goes. And this helps to destroy the ego in which we are comfortable in. So could it be that even the people that get burnt by the sun can absorb this mighty current if they take it up through the Sushumna the proper way? Who knows? Alright, anyway, when the unfortunate man is literally burnt to death, he's burnt to death due to excessive internal heat, which cannot be controlled by any external means. I was horrified by this statement, and in this desperation went to consult a learned ascetic from Kashmir who had come to spend the winter at Jammu. Now I will say this, and I'm gonna say this before I continue. Everybody don't have functional pineal glands, regardless if they was the awakened Kundalini strictly up to Sushumna. Okay? And they were able to absorb the mighty current. If your ass don't have a functional pineal gland, it's useless to raise the Kundalini all the way up, because you will not be tapped into the cosmos. Well, I ain't gonna say it's useless. You probably gonna get benefits from the shit, but you are not going to be known as what you truly are, which is a God. And this is why I specifically believe that the Bible talks about God only being a black man, because black people, melanated African beings, are the only people on a global scale that have functional pineal glands, along with Japanese people, but melanated beings more so than anything. This is why the Bible always talks about God being black, woolly hair, okay, had hair lamb's wool, feet of burnt brass as if it had been burnt in an oven. Book of Ezekiel talking about he saw these the Son of Man on this wheel with the skin color of amber. You get the point. It's always a black man. The book of Enoch talk about the head of days. He had woolly hair. Okay? So you get the point. Bottom line, the black people, the black race, are the ones, according to scripture, who qualify and who live in the God body to observe the mighty current because of our internal faculties. This is what allows us to totally absorb this mighty current. We are literally condensed. Okay? Condensed light. Alright? So if you was to raise the vibration of a melanated being, we would be light. Think about it, because melanin, neuromelanin, absorbs the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Now let me move on. He heard me with patience and said that the experience I had undergone could not at all be due to the awakening of the serpent power, as that was always blissful and not to be associated with any agony liable to cause disease or disturbance. He made another gruesome suggestion that the effect that malady, however he said this shit, was probably due to the venom of malignant spirits that beset the path of yogis. Sound like somebody don't know what the hell they talking about to me. And prescribed the decoction, which I never took. On the suggestion of someone, I glanced through a couple of books on Kundalini yoga, translations in English of ancient Sanskrit texts. I could not read even a page attentively. The attempt involving fixity of attention which I was incapable of maintaining for long. The least effort instantly aggravated my condition by increasing the flow of the newborn energy in the brain, which added to my terror and misery. I just glanced through the books, reading a line here and a paragraph there. The description of the symptoms that followed the awakening corroborated my own experience and finally strengthened my conviction that I had roused the vital force dormant in me. Damn, he couldn't even concentrate. The energy was just... So basically, one thing, wherever you put your concentration, if this energy run wild, the energy goes there and it ruptures your neurological system. This is why he couldn't even concentrate on reading. But whether the agony of mind and body that I was passing through was inevitable an inevitable result of the awakening, I could not be sure. There was, however, one very briefly stated injunction. Call it accident or divine guidance. I picked up from the huge mass of material in that very cursory glance. It was to the effort that during the course of the practice, the student is not permitted to touch his stomach, is not permitted to keep his stomach empty, but should take a light meal every 3 hours. This brief advice flashed across my brain at a most critical moment. Let me read that again. It was to the effort that during the course of the practice, the student is not permitted to keep his stomach empty, but should take a light meal every 3 hours. This brief advice flashed across my brain at a most critical moment. Okay, you heard it. At the time, I paid no attention to this significant hint, which was based on the experience of countless men, many of whom had probably lost their lives in an attempt to rouse the serpent. I could not have acted upon the advice at that time, as food was so repulsive to me that my stomach revolted at the mere thought of it. I was burning in every part of my body while my mind swayed erratically, unable to keep itself steady for a moment. See, this is the importance of awakening Kundalini the right way, because what we are witnessing is what Gobi Krishna did by awakening the Kundalini the wrong way. So do not be a Gobi Krishna by awakening it the wrong way. This is why certain steps are taken so that one may qualify. Now let us move on. But some of you may wonder, damn, why he reading all this extra shit? Because it is very well needed to know. Therefore, you won't be left out if you mess around and awaken Kundalini and you had no idea what occurred. At least you'll have an idea what the hell you done did. So this is very important information. Now let me continue. Whenever my mind turned upon itself, I always found myself staring with growing panic into the unearthly radiance that filled my head, swirling like a fearsome whirlpool in the night. This happened night after night for months, weakening my will and sapping my resistance until I felt unable to endure the fearful ordeal any longer, certain that at any moment I might succumb to the relentlessly pursuing horror, and bidding farewell to my life and sanity, rushed out of the room, a raving maniac. But I persisted, determined to hold on, resolved at the first sign of breaking up to surrender my life rather than lose myself in the ghastly wilderness of insanity. When it was day, I longed for the night, and during the night, I fervently prayed for the day. As the time wore on, my hopes swindled and desperation seized me. There was no relaxation in tension, and the ceaselessly haunting fear from the fiery stream that darted through my nerves and poured into my agonized brain as my vitality ebbed and my resistance weakened. The malady was aggravated to such a pitch that every moment I expected to die. Damn. Man, y'all ain't hearing this shit. This is why you must know what you're doing on the verge of awakening Kundalini. This is why everybody is not a fucking messiah if you black. Okay? So, just because you have the neuromelanin, which is the absorber of the mighty current, doesn't mean that you qualify. Okay? Again, for more information concerning what a Messiah is, go watch my video, The Truth About the Messiah. Now let me continue. It was a such frame. Okay, we're talking about this here. The night of Shiva. Alright. It was in such a frame of mind that the holy festival of Savitria, or Night of Shiva, came to pass toward the end of February. As usual, my wife had prepared some dainty dishes on the day and gently insisted that I too should partake of the food. Not to disappoint her or cast a cloud of gloom on her already anxious mind, I forcibly swallowed a few morsels, then gave up. Immediately I felt a sinking sensation in the pit of my stomach. A fiery stream of energy shot into my head. I felt myself being lifted up, expanding, and an unbearable terror was crouching at me from every side. I felt a rearing sensation while my hand and feet grew cold as ice, as if the heat had escaped from them to feed the fiery vapor in the head, which had risen through the spinal cord and struck me numb. I was overpowered by giddiness. Now, many of you, again, may say, damn, why you keep reading all this shit like this? Because you must understand what you're getting yourself involved in dealing with Kundalini. And as we witness what happens when you arouse Kundalini the wrong way through the eyes of Gopi Krishna, you can't say you didn't understand it, what took place, or what is to take place if your ass don't qualify. So let's continue. I staggered to my feet and dragged myself toward my bed in the adjacent room. With trembling hands, I lifted up the cover and slipped in, trying to stretch myself into a position of ease. I was in a terrible condition, burning internally from head to toes, outwardly cold as ice and shivering as if stricken with ague. My pulse was racing madly and my heart was thumping wildly. Below my ribs was pounding distinctly audible to me. What horrified me was the intensity of the fiery currents that now darted through my body, penetrating every organ. My brain worked desperately, unable to give coherence to my frenzied thoughts. I called in a doctor for consultation, and such a state would be absurd. No, to call in to a doctor for consolation in such a state would be absurd. Absurd. On hearing of my symptoms, he would send me to a lunatic asylum. It would be futile on my part to seek help anywhere for such an affliction. What could I do to save myself from this torture? Y'all gonna find out soon exactly what he did. And y'all gonna find out, just if you happen to awaken Kundalini the wrong way, what one should do in order to rebalance, okay, this mighty current and be at ease. Could it be that in my previous semi-starved condition, the fiery current could not attain such awful intensity as it had done now with the entry of solid foods on my stomach? How could I save myself? Where could I go to escape from this furnace raging in my interior? The heat caused such unbearable pain that I writhed and twisted from side to side while streams of perspiration poured down my face and limbs. But still the heat increased, and coursing through my body seemed to be scorching and blistering the organs and tissues like flying sparks. Damn. Suffering the most excruciating torture, I clenched my hands and bit my lips to stop myself from leaping out of bed and crying at the top of my voice. Ooh, shit. The throbbing of my heart grew more terrific, acquiring such a spasmodic violence that I thought it must either stop beating or be burnt out. You see, let me say something. See, the thing about this is that many of us that's melanated, this is what we go through. We go through this neurological damage state. And as I reflect, I can remember hearing some of the teachers, such as Bobby Hemmett, say if a Caucasian raised it, they wouldn't even be able to go through this damaged neurological system. They would just internal combust because their bodies was not designed to withstand this mighty current. But again, I'm challenging everything. And this is just based on the Shoshuna. Alright? So anyway, let us continue. Flesh and blood could not stand such strain without giving way any moment. It was easy to see that the body was valiantly trying to fight the virulent poison speeding across the nerves and pouring into the brain. But the fight was so unequal, and the fury let loose in my system so lethal that there could be doubt about the outcome. There were dreadful disturbances in all the organs, each so alarming and painful that I wonder how I managed to retain my self-possession under the onslaught. The whole delicate organism was burning, withering away completely under the fiery blast racing through its exterior. I knew I was dying, and that my heart could not stand the tremendous strain for long. My throat was parched, and every part of my body burning. It's like burning fire, oh, shut off in my bones. See, they didn't make that damn song for no reason. Okay? Somebody knew what the hell they were talking about. But I could do nothing to alleviate the dreadful suffering. If a well or river had been near, I would have jumped into its cold depths, preferring death to what I was undergoing. Damn, now that's pain. You choose that over the pain that you're going through. That's pain. Think about it now. But there was no well, and the river was half a mile away. With great effort, I got up, trembling with the idea of pouring a few buckets of cold water over my head to abate the dreadful heat. At that moment, my eyes fell on my small daughter, Regina, lying in the bed, awake, watching my feverish moments with wide open, anxious eyes. Alright, with the remnant of sense still left in me, I could understand that the least unusual movement of my part at that time would make her cry. Damn. If I started to pour water over my body at such an unearthly hour, both she and her mother, who was busy in the kitchen, would almost die with fright. The thought restrained me, and I decided to bear the internal agony until the end, which could not be far off. Shit. I would have poured all that water on my head. Fuck the dumb shit. That's just me. They just would have had to deal with it. Fuck that shit. Okay, anyway, let's get to how Gobi Krishna, okay, caused the imbalance to become balanced. Let's get to this. Pulling the cover over my face, I stretched myself to full length in bed, burning in every fiber. At this moment, a fearful idea struck me. Could it be that I aroused Kundalini through Pingala, or the solar nerve, which regulates the flow of heat in the body and is located on the right side of Sushumna? If so, I was doomed. The idea flashed across my brain to make a last-minute attempt to rouse Ida, or the lunar nerve on the left side, to activity, thus neutralizing the dreadful burning effect of the devouring fire within. With my mind reeling and senses deadened with pain, but with all the willpower left in my command, I brought my attention to bear on the left side of the seat of Kundalini and tried to force an imaginary cold current upward through the middle of the spinal cord. In that extraordinarily extended, agonized, and exhausted state of consciousness, I distinctly felt the location of the nerve and strained hard mentally to divert its flow into the central channel. Then, as if waiting for the destined moment, a miracle happened. What happened? He awakened Shakti, the white serpent. There was a sound like a nerve thread snapping, and instantaneously a silvery streak passed zigzag through the spinal cord. He was able to witness this, y'all, through his third eye. Exactly like a sinuous movement of a white serpent in rapid flight, pouring in effulgent, cascading shower of brilliant vital energy into my brain, filling my head with a blissful luster in place of the flame that had been torturing me for the last 3 hours, completely suppressed at this sudden transformation of the fiery current darting across the entire network of my nerves only a moment before, and overjoyed at the cessation of pain. I remained absolutely quiet and motionless for some time, tasting the bliss of release. I soon fell asleep, bathed in light, and for the first time after weeks of anguish, felt the sweet embrace of restful sleep. Y'all heard it? Okay, so this is been a thorough breakdown of what happens when you awaken Kundalini on the wrong side or the wrong way. And this has been a thorough breakdown on what happens when you restore that balance by awakening Shakti. Okay? So this is the ancient union of the devil and God. They are ancient lovers of one union. And when one is disconnected from the other, chaos starts. Alright? Or imbalance starts. But when you merge them together as one, this is perfect harmony. Now, to save some time, I will give a description of that which Gopi Krishna went through after he awakened Ida or Shakti. He was able to see parallel worlds. He gives accounts of when he was walking to work and even at work. He was able to see things such as nature spirits, elves, and all type of stuff. But he said he kept it to himself. Otherwise, he would have been known as or thought of as a person that was insane, because no one else could see these things. So this awakening Kundalini the proper way literally puts a person into the spirit realm as well as the physical realm. So you're able to be in two different realms at one time. So, but let us continue. Here we will briefly become acquainted with Shakti. The utter helplessness of the devotee in his entire dependence on the mercy and grace of the cosmic vital energy, Shakti, when Kundalini is aroused, is the constant time of hymns addressed to the goddess by eminent yogis of yore. As the supreme mistress of the body, she alone is considered to be competent to bestow on earnest aspirants who worship her with true devotion, centering their thoughts and actions in her, resigning themselves entirely to her will. Let me say something. See, these gods and goddesses that we have been taught about are within us, whether it be in the chakra centers. You know how many chakras we got in our body? Hundreds of chakras, but there are 7 major chakras that we all, for the majority, know about. But all of these chakra centers are gods and goddesses that live in us. Okay? All of these attributes of Allah are within us. It has just been rearranged with certain words to really give you an understanding of that which is within you. But you've been taught that these beings are outside of you. And the ones that are outside of you are mainly thought forms. Okay? But of course, we have interdimensional beings that can appear, reappear. Okay? So don't think that my mind, or that I am speaking of, that which is now outside of you doesn't exist. Because in a way, this shit does exist. Reality is what we make it. But the true everlasting kingdom is within us. This is why we are interdimensional beings. Now let me continue. Okay. Who worship her with true devotion, centering their thoughts and actions in her, resigning themselves entirely to her will. The much covered and hard to obtain boon of transcendental knowledge and supernormal psychic powers. All these writings assign to Kundalini the supreme position of being queen and architect of the living organism, having the power to mold it, transform it, or even destroy it as she will. But how she manages to do it consists with biological laws governing the organic world, no one had tried to state in explicit terms. In my opinion, it is more reasonable to assume that even in those cases in which apparently a sudden spiritual development takes place, there must occur gradual changes in the cells and tissues of the body for a sufficiently long period, perhaps even for the embryonic stage or early childhood, without the individuals ever coming to know what was happening in their own interior. Now we shall touch on Kundalini, the evolutionary energy in man, by Kobe Krishna, for a brief moment, so that we may get a quick summary of that which had occurred to Gobi Krishna. Now let me say, think not of this as just Gobi Krishna, but think of this as yourself if you had been the one to go through such an experiment, in which many of us will actually go through once we go through this ascension, okay? We will go through this once we enter this Aquarian age in full. So y'all should be paying close attention to what is about to take place. And alright, let's get there. The descriptions contained in the ancient esoteric treatise on Kundalini represent the goddess as a stream of radiant energy, ambrosial in effect, which when roused, the power of the concentration in pranayama can be led gradually to her supreme abode at the crown of the head, there to taste the ineffable bliss of an embrace with her divine spouse, God Shiva, residing in the consciousness of the yogi. In the course of her absence from her seat at the base of the spine to the crown, it is adverted waters with nectar, the six lotus flowering at the six important nerve junctions on the cerebral spinal axis, governing the vital and sensory organs which bloom at her approach, until she arrives at the thousand-petaled lotus at the top of the head and is absorbed in ecstatic union with her heavenly consort. When released from the chains which bind it to earth, the embodied consciousness soars to the sublime heights of self-realization, made aware for the first time after ages of bondage of its own ineffable deathless nature. Alright, you see it. Now, as we go into the serpent power, the secrets of Tantric and Shaktic Yoga, we shall take an even closer look at the Kundalini. Now let me say this. If one is on the verge of having to arouse Kundalini because they have qualified, you first must go through semen retention. For men, that is. Okay? Because semen retention builds the energy to awaken Kundalini. It gives you that vigor, and it gives one the courage to call forth, to summon this mighty current. Okay? Without this, you will not qualify. These are some of the things that come with awakening this powerful mighty current. Now here are just a few things to be cleared up. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are the names for the functions of the one universal consciousness operating in our cells. Okay? Ain't no God outside of you. This is why we are one. So, the one and only jealous God, get your ass out of here. For more information concerning the jealous God, go watch my video. It's called The One and Only Jealous God Revealed. I'll go into great detail using the Gnostic text and exposing the hidden history of why this one and only God is jealous and what made him jealous. Alright? So go check that video out because I'm using documents on this shit. Now here we have someone that had experienced or underwent the phenomenon of Kundalini and how it took place. Now if you read in the highlighted format, if the breath is stopped and the mind is carried downward, heat is felt. It is possible to see Kundalini with the mental eye. Let me stop for a second. See, this is what Gopi Krishna mentioned when he was talking about seeing the silvery white light of Shakti as he awakened it. He saw it with his third eye. Okay? And right here in this book, it is clarifying that which Gopi Krishna stated. Okay? So, it is possible to see Kundalini with the mental eye. The mental eye. That's the third eye. The pineal gland. And in this way, to experience her without actually arousing her and bringing her up, which can only be affected by the yoga methods prescribed. Kundalini may have thus been seen as a light in the basal century. So you can also see Kundalini even in its dormant state. Now reading that which is highlighted. Man then is pure consciousness. I've been saying that shit for a long time. Okay? Vehicled by its power as mind and body. The theology, this pure consciousness is Shiva and his power, Shakti, who, as she is in her formless self, is one with him. This is why, again, God and the devil are ancient lovers of one union. She is the great diva, the mother of the universe, who as the life force resides in man's body as well as woman, even though it don't say shit, in its lowest century at the base of the spine, just as Shiva is realized in the highest brain century, the cerebrum or Sharahara Padma. Now here we will go over the word Bindu because you will see this word again as this lesson goes on. Bindu literally means a point, and the dot, and Savara, which denotes in Sanskrit the nostril breathing, and to place in the Kendra Bindu nostril breathing above Nada. In its technical mantra, since it denotes that state of active consciousness or Shakti, in which the eye or illuminating aspect of consciousness identifies itself with the total, this it subjectifies the this, thereby becoming a one point Bindu of consciousness with it. As we can see, it mentions Nada. So for you to have a full understanding what is taking place concerning Bindu, as far as breathing above Nada, we go into the wisdom of the ancients, where it states Nadas. There are various forms of sound. Sound, in fact, is merely a vibration as is sight. We call sound that which can be apperceived by the human ears, or more accurately by any ears. Nadas is a form of sound that is heard within without the aid of ears. It is the voice of conscience, the voice of the God within, the voice of our overself calling you, telling you what to do, and perhaps even more important, telling you what not to do. Alright, so you have a form of your higher self. It is said to be still and know that I am within. The I, that one knows in this way, is the Nadas, the voice within. You cannot go wrong in your present stage of evolution if you listen and obey that still inner voice of conscience, conscience. Now let it be stated, as you see, there is There is thus nothing in the universe which is not in the human body. There is no need to throw one's eyes into the heavens to find God. He is within, being known as the ruler within, or inner self. Inside the meru or spinal column are the 6 main centuries of Tattvic operation called chakras, or patmas. Within the seats of Shakti as the Sahasrara. Above is the abode of Shiva. These are Mudahara and some more shit, and Nahata, Vishuddha, and Anjana, which in the physical body are said to have their correspondences in the principal nerve plexus and organs, commencing from what is possibly the sacropsychogeal plexus to the space between the eyebrows, which some identify with the pineal gland, the century of the third or spiritual eye, and others with the cerebellum. The chakras themselves are, however, as explained later, centuries of consciousness, right? As extremely subtle force, Shakti, but the gross regions which are built up by their coruscant vibrations, which are subject to their influence, and with which loosely and inaccurately they are sometimes identified, have been said to be various plexus in the trunk of the body and the lower cerebral centuries mentioned. In the portion of the body below the Muladhara are the 7 lower worlds. And it's talking about the chakras, that is. Patalas and others, together with the Shaktis, which support all in the universe. Now, since I'm not doing a video, this video is not on the chakras, I will be doing a video specifically concerning the chakras as they connect with Kundalini. But this video is strictly about the Kundalini. So look for that video coming soon based on strictly the chakras more than anything. But right now we're going to deal with the Kundalini. Now we shall go into the magic presence, and we shall get great detail concerning when one unlocks this mighty current. And later on we shall go into certain meditations or form of meditations of that which unlocks this God-man in you. But now we will witness the power of unlocking the God, or this light being, what some call the electric body, the golden body, the rainbow body, the crystal body, the diamond body. You will witness that phenomenon within this book, how it takes place, and what to look forward to when this takes place. Now, concerning this mighty current, we go into the mind of the Ascended Master, Saint Germain, and who is better yet to qualify the representation and meditation and the understanding of this mighty current and what takes place. Okay, so I will begin. Only the self-conscious individual has all the attributes and creative power of the mighty I Am presence. Once he can know who and what he is and express the fullness of the creative power of God whenever he decrees by the use of words, I am. You know how to say I am that I am? The outer human part of this activity is what we call the personality, which is the ego. It is but the vehicle through which perfection should be expressed into the outer substance of the universe, Within the pure God flame is a breath that pulsates constantly. This great fire breath is a rhythmic outpouring of divine love, its three attributes being love, wisdom, and power in action. These pour out constantly into the infinite sea of pure electronic light. This light is the universal substance or spirit out of which all forms are composed. It is intelligent, mark you, because it obeys law through the command of the individual who says or is conscious of I am. These two words are the acknowledgement and releasement of the power to create and bring forth into outer existence whatever quality follows that acknowledgement. For intelligence to act, there must be intelligence to be acted upon. And the universal substance, being like a photographic film, takes the record of whatever quality the individual imposes upon it through his thought, feeling, and spoken word. The words I am, whether thought, felt, or spoken, release the power of creation instantaneously. Make no mistake about this. Intelligence is omnipresent, and it is within the electronic light. The light is the central point of life or energy within every atom, composing the substance from which comes all physical manifestation. I speak of the atom because of the lower rate of vibration composing the physical manifestation is the atomic structure which we have under consideration. When you consciously envelope or hold any person, place, condition, or thing in the dazzling white light, you are penetrating, going through the atomic structure into the electronic, wherein there is no imperfection. In this use of the light, one penetrates the structure of imperfection, and that on which the attention is centered is then brought forth perfect, not only as the Father sees it, but it is the Father's perfection expressed. You, as the Son, are giving choice, commanded to choose and direct where the energy, which is the activity of the light, shall go. He's talking about meditation. It is imperative to have your conscious thought, your firm attention on what is to be accomplished in order to give the needed direction to the activity of this mighty force which is your right and privilege to use. When you use the dazzling white light, you are actually accepting the electronic structure which is then present in manifestation, for you are acting from the plane of action or perfect manifestation. Your desire, when held steady, unwavering, becomes the conscious thought directing, for you cannot have a desire without conscious thought in the desire. I'm just reading highlighted stuff. If in your use of the light, you will know the perfection of what you wish is already present in manifestation the moment you start to dynamic action of the light. It will remove all uncertainty in your mind as to the positive assurance of the manifestation or what you wish taking form in your physical use. Enclosing or visualizing any person, place, object, or condition with the illuminated figure of Jesus Christ. Now let's get this shit straight. Jesus Christ, or the figure of any other ascended master. So the word Jesus Christ means somebody that has ascended. Jesus come from Horus. Christ meaning cosmic consciousness. So let's not get lost in this word. Okay? You are really unclothing, penetrating through the atomic garment. Remember the video concerning telepathy? When you send out love, and this love that generates is not the personal love that you know. It is the essence beneath the physical garments. It is the light being that is within you that you focus on. This is the love essence. Okay? For more information concerning telepathy, go watch my video. It's called The Art of Telepathy Explained. Alright? Anyway, where you see, recognize, and accept the perfection you now want, present in form. For you have swept aside all imperfection in the action. The student should see and feel his body as if composed with pure white flame sending out long rays of light. The flame is your real self, the mighty I am presence. The flame, the Kundalini, okay? The full Christ perfection. The rays shooting forth are the divine mind, or love in action. These rays are what follow your conscious direction, carrying your thought, the bindu, the one pointers, and producing magical results when consciously directed, held firm by determined, unwavering conscious attention. The light you thus visualize is the electronic substance the Hindus call prana. This light is always directed by thought, but it is imperative that all learn to control and direct it consciously. This conscious control and direction is how the ascended masters accomplish such marvelous results. Divine love is a presence, an intelligence, a principle, a power, an activity, a light in a substance. When we command divine love to go forth and do anything, we are setting into motion the highest form of action, the most powerful force. This, however, does not require terrific effort. In fact, it requires just the opposite. It is a calm, steady, determined, conscious knowing. As this becomes a fixed consciousness and absolute certainty in one's conscious awareness, he will find more and more instantaneous response to his demand and command. You see, this is why we don't pray. We command shit. Well, you know who you are? You command shit. See, never be afraid to demand and command anything that is a universal principle of life. Make no mistake, the light of the universe, of the universal electronic substance, is for your use, is at your command. Your mighty I am presence is a self-conscious being of which your outer consciousness is but a fragmentary part. Man, I've been saying this shit from like the beginning of when I first started making videos. Listen, your mighty I am presence is a self-conscious being of which your outer consciousness is but a fragmentary part. See, we are all fragments of the universal mind experiencing itself in many dimensions. Alright? Therefore, you can talk to your mighty master within as you would to a loving father who possessed limitless light, love, riches, power, health, happiness, or anything you could desire. For the more you consciously use this mighty presence of the I am, the quicker will it respond to you. Man, y'all ain't hearing this shit. God, this is some heavy shit. Just reading this shit like talking to my soul. I don't understand. See, I don't think y'all understand. Divine love can control all manifestation. If in your use of divine love, you are conscious that it has within itself all love, wisdom, and power of this mighty I am presence. The fact is that you qualify this principle which you command with whatever quality you are conscious of as being within it. You are given dominion over everything in the air, in the earth, in the fire, in the water, through the command of this mighty universal principle, which is always at your conscious service for your use. Now remember, you must be in harmony with universal law. You must be radiating within a balanced heart chakra. Alright, in order for you to qualify. Remember this shit. Love, divine mind, and prana are one in the static or still state. Through the conscious action of the individual, divine love consciously directed becomes love, wisdom, and power in action. This is why divine love consciously directed to accomplish things produces such marvelous results. It becomes instantaneous and all-powerful as soon as the outer consciousness ceases to limit it. Now to return to the explanation of the rays. The mighty God flame reason within itself. It pulsates, y'all. Okay? Projects two rays into the great sea of pure electronic light. Now we just read about two rays. That being Shiva and Shakti. The Indra and the Ida. Alright, if I said that right. But bottom line, you know what I'm talking about. This intelligent light substance becomes the clothing, as it were, for these rays of the mighty I Am present. Each ray has all the attributes of the Godhead within it, and no imperfection can ever enter into or register upon it. The individualized flame sends down into each ray a focal point or spark, forming a heart center upon which gathers the electronic light substance, creating the electronic body. Man, y'all didn't hear that shit. Let me read it again. The individualized flame sends down into each ray a focal point or spark, forming a heart center upon which gathers the electronic light substance, creating the electronic body. Around this, it sends out rays of lesser intensity that form an aura or force field. This force field is sometimes referred to as the causal body, and within it are deposited the results of all constructive effort during and between each embodiment. All electronic substance that has been used constructively by the personal self through physical experience is also deposited within it. Through it, the God flame can send out into space a greater release of its own life wave. The causal body, through the personality's journey and physical experience, becomes an ever-expanding sun and self-sustained outpouring of limitless ideals, love, wisdom, and power, flowing out forever on rays of love to the rest of this universe. This sun is in reality a reservoir of the constructively used energy and substance gathered through human experience and drawn upward. So it becomes the glory of the God flame, which mark you, never loses its individual identity, and the limitless activity of life and creation goes on, expanding its perfection. The universal substance and energy which the personal self uses discordantly accumulates in the atmosphere around the physical body of both the personality and the earth. Periodically, it builds a vortex and can only be purified and returned to the great sea of universal light by the activity of the fire element. The purifying process of the fire element acting within the flesh of the human body to consume wrong qualities sometimes produces the sensation of a pain if wrongfully qualified by the personality. We just went over that shit with Gopi Krishna when he raised the Kundalini the wrong way. But if the fire element acts within the flesh of the human body to vivify and energize, it produces the sensation of peace. Exhilaration is ecstasy. Now this is awakening Kundalini with Shiva and Shakti, what he's talking about now. Okay, we just went over that shit, so this shouldn't be nothing new to y'all, unless you really weren't paying attention. This video is to be studied. If acting in the atmosphere of the earth and within nature to purify, it sometimes produces volcanic and cataclysmic conditions. When acting to vivify and energize in nature, it produces marvelous growth and pure, rarefied air which vitalizes all. Let us continue. If he has created because of the appetites of the physical body, things and conditions he does not enjoy, he has all power to purify and dissolve them by the right use of the fire element, of which divine love is the highest, most powerful, and eternal activity. If he desires to set his personal self and world in order, and therefore have peace and create a world of joy, perfection, and glory, he must look to his electronic body for the pattern of his divine perfection. For it cannot and never will be found anywhere else. Did you hear that shit? The perfect eternal electronic body abides from 12 to 50 feet above the physical body of every individual. Talking about the higher self now. Unless he be very low or destructive type. Lest he be a very low or destructive type. When it withdraws still further away, this is the Son, and Son, S-U-N, Son, of God. For the electronic body of every individualized flame of God is a dazzling, blazing light of such intensity that the human eye can only gaze upon it for a fraction of a second. Alright? By admiration, the God flame and purification of his instrument, the personal self, the outer activity of the mind and physical body becomes raised in vibratory attunement to see the electronic body clearly within the blazing light of a force field around it. Damn. And certain phases of religious explanation concerning this electronic body, it has been referred to many times as the guardian angel. It is all of that and more when really understood and comprehended. To it, the personal self should look for the supply of every good thing as a child looks to its mother. All that is within the God flame flows into the electronic body, where the tremendous power and intensity of the light of the mighty I Am presence is stepped down to a degree that can act in the vibratory octave of the physical world. From the heart center of the electronic body flows a stream of life essence or liquid light, which enters the physical body through the pineal gland and fills the nerve channels. This liquid white fire flows through the nerves as blood does through the veins. You see, this liquid white fire produced by the pineal gland that fills the nerve channels is the blood of Christ. Okay? So I don't know what the fuck anybody else would be talking about. Alright? This is why I made the video called The Truth About the Messiah. Alright? Because I've heard too many misconceptions about what a Christ is. Unless you personally experienced it, then will you know exactly what you're talking about. And I qualify to speak on this here shit. Alright? Moving on though. This beats the heart, moves the muscles of the body, and enables one to walk or raise the hands. It is also the energizing light within the brain cells. The life stream of the body has often been referred to as the silver cord. So it is. For the stream of liquid white light pulsates continuously through the flesh body by way of the nervous system. At so-called death, the God presence withdraws. The stream of liquid light in the flesh disintegrates. The reason the race continues to experience so-called death is because of the waste of the electronic light through emotional excesses. Instead of retaining it within the physical brain and body by to rebuild the cellular structure and supply the motive power for the entire body. So he's basically telling you, quit wasting your sexual energy. This is why semen retention is called for in order to summon this mighty current. Alright? Mankind, listen to this, does not, basically he's saying don't have an ejaculation, have an ejaculation, okay? And this is to start the microcosmic orbit. Mankind does not like to hear this truth. But the waste of the life energy through uncontrolled feeling is the cause of the Alright, where we at? Is the cause. Let me start over. Mankind does not like to hear this truth. But the waste of the life energy through uncontrolled feeling is the cause of disintegration of all physical bodies outside of violence. If one uses the inner sight to observe the life stream of a strong, healthy child, he will see the nerves of the body full of this dazzling liquid white light. Then if he observes the body of the same child when ill or fatigued, he will see the light gradually diminished. And in old body, it is still more greatly dimmed. And if one wishes to observe the soul passing out of the body at so-called death, he will see this life stream entirely withdrawn at the top of the head until it becomes only a thin thread of light which finally breaks. At that moment the heart ceases to beat. Alright, I shall now give you an explanation of the law by which you are able to illuminate, raise the physical body, and express the full dominion, victory, and freedom of the ascendant masters. Y'all finna witness some shit. The seed within man and woman is only intended for the sacred office of creating a body by which another soul may come into physical embodiment. At all other times, the glorious light within the body should be raised into the top of the head and allowed to flow up in admiration unto the mighty I Am presence. See, we were never taught about this shit. We were just taught to just go on, get you a nut, get you something to eat and go to sleep. We were never taught about ejaculation to cause Newt and Hattie to become one, or to cause the devil and God to become one, or to raise the Kundalini, awaken Shiva and Shakti back to their heavenly realm, which is in the pineal gland, aka miniature universe. This is an internal ejaculation. Now, we were never taught about semen retention. Okay? At all times, at all other times, the glorious light within the body should be raised into the top of the head. Alright? This is starting the microcosmic orbit and allowed to flow in admiration into the mighty I Am presence. Then by uplifted thoughts and feelings. See, this is what we call raising one's vibration. One can do creative work at the mental level through glorious ideals of art, music, invention, discovery, research, and the creation of beauty and harmony of every description through a service that blesses humanity and therefore the individual who gives it, instead of wasting the wonderful liquid light, the marvelous God-given essence of life in sex sensation and excessive, whereby the body becomes decrepit, flabby, crippled, face-lined, eyes dull, the whole structure stooped and feeble, the brain inactive, sight and hearing impaired, and the memory not able to function. This energy should be rightly used in wonderful, idealistic creativity, okay? Creative activity. This is how, again, when you read in the Emram tablets, written by Thoth, translated by Maurice Durrell, Thoth said this is how his brothers kept the fingers of death off them by starting a microcosmic orbit through through semen retention. So he's revealing the same shit, but he's teaching you how to do it. But he's revealing the same thing that the Atlantean Thoth taught. Now, in such constructive consciousness and accomplishments, the physical body would remain eternally youthful and beautiful. The brain and faculties keen, alert, and active, and the whole physical expression would become the image and likeness of the living God. Truly the temple. Let me read that again. In such constructive consciousness and accomplishment, the physical body will remain eternally youthful and beautiful. The brain and faculties keen, alert, and active, and the whole physical expression will become the image and likeness of the living God. Truly the temple of the Most High. Your bodies are now calling for their accustomed rest. Alright, he's talking to the people that he was communicating with, but I'm just relaying the message to the world. Okay? Now let us continue on. This mighty concentrated electronic force or life essence is a liquid light which flows wherever the attention directs it. The mind's attention is pulled this way and that by thought, feeling, sight, and hearing, in fact by the pull of all the physical senses. The true understanding of what mighty power is at your command when you have full control over your attention cannot be overestimated. The liquid electronic essence is this mighty energy. Okay, Kundalini. And it energizes whatever the attention rests upon. If one be doing intense mental work, the liquid light stays within the brain and flows forth through the center of the forehead between the eyes as a ray of light. And if the inner sight be opened, one can easily and always see it. If one be speaking, this pure mighty energy flows forth through the throat center as sound. If one be pouring out divine love, this liquid light flows forth as a radiance from the heart center. Now understand that this taking place is once you have actually unlocked this mighty current. Then you'll be able to feel this liquid light penetrating wherever your consciousness is. Alright? Not like Gobi Krishna did it the wrong way, but we're speaking on the right way as it enters the Sushumna. Okay, if one be sending out intense feeling, it flows forth from the solar plexus. Here it also performs the function of digesting the food. If one has the inner sight open, he will see the stream of light pouring out from whatever center the energy is being used at the moment. This pure liquid light becomes colored by whatever quality the personality imposes upon it through the thought, feeling, and spoken word. Here lies one's responsibility as a creator, and by the means by which he can correct or purify whatever has been wrongfully created. If this life essence is released at the genital center for sex pleasure instead of building a new physical embodiment for another soul, the process of disintegration of the physical body is started, and the journey to self-generated dissolution of the body begins. It matters not what human opinion says to the contrary. This is the inevitable, inexorable law of physical embodiment, and there is no person in the universe who can change it. This is the principal reason for the condition that is called death within the race as a whole. Let anyone who disagrees with this truth compare the brain and body of one who conserves this liquid light over a period of a few years with that of one who has wasted it over a similar period, and he will not need any other proof. The conservation of this liquid electronic light and the conscious lifting of it by admiration to the mighty I Am presence, and by the power of the mind through the control of the attention, is the way of perfection, and is safe, sound, sensible, and reasonable. It can have only harmonious, constructive results to the mind, the body, and the world of the individual. This is not a system of repression by the power of the human will. This is and will always be disastrous. For to dam up a highly concentrated energy, and then by thought, feeling, and suggestion keep driving more of it to that point through thinking upon it in secret, must of necessity cause an explosion of some kind to take place. That method never was the original spiritual teaching of anyone who really knew and understood the truth of the law concerning it. Humanity has not, except in a very small degree, understood this truth, or thousands of thousands would have become ascended masters long before now. In order to raise out of the degradation, misery, poverty, and disaster in which the mass is now wallowing, the individual must come to a clear understanding of this law and the outer activity of his mind. Through his conscious acknowledge and control of the emotions, he shuts the doors to the most dangerous and subtle suggestions from the psychic plane, which is the most unrecognized enemy and vicious activity of the sinister force in this world. The feeling nature of mankind is a reservoir of energy, and it is impossible for thoughts to become things until one propels them forth unto the sea of electronic substance by feeling. Now let us make something clear. The mighty I Am presence stores its force in the emotional body or feeling body, and depends on this energy to accomplish the fulfillment of perfect divine plan of life. The outer self, until fully awakened, has periods in which it unknowingly wants to strut its vanity and abilities over its fellow man. This is the ego. This always invites a shock of some kind to shake up the outer self until it becomes aware of what it is doing. Then it wildly looks about for its source of power, which it has either forgotten or willfully pushed aside. For in our compulsory choice and the use of the free will, this great master within will not intrude itself unless welcomed and invited joyously to do so. I say joyously because the more joy we can put into the acceptance of the mighty indwelling power, aka Kundalini, the quicker manifestation follows. Our acceptance is a command which must be obeyed. It cannot be denied. The attention and acceptance must be held long enough and steadily enough upon the mighty I Am presence until the shell of the outer self is completely shorn of the idea that it has any power of its own. The outer mind cannot argue against the fact that all energy it uses comes from the great presence within, no matter how the energy is applied. Y'all heard it? Y'all heard it, okay? So it is you that must command this mighty current to awaken. You must give energy to it, acknowledge it joyously. So here we have the great command which Count Saint Germain gives. The way to purify the brain and body structure, if the personality has been putting these substances into the physical body in the past, is to call your mighty I Am presence to pour through your mind and body its violet consuming flame, using the following affirmation: Mighty I Am presence, blaze through me thy consuming flame of divine love. Take this desire out of me, annihilate its cause and effect, past, present, and future, and replace it by the fullness of yourself, your perfect satisfaction, and hold your full dominion here forever. Alright? Now your consciousness is anchored, so I can give you the great command. With it, you can command the body to manifest perfection, having dominion in use of certain elements, currents of the electronic force, and rays of light. Thus, you can govern your life and affairs in perfect divine order. This is strictly private instructions to you while here in this retreat, and is never to be given to anyone except by me. He proceeded to explain the tremendous use of the great command, for its simplicity is so wonderful and its power so stupendous. He then took each one of us separately and asked us to give the command, and to realize fully how impossible it was for anything to result from it but the greatest possible harmony and blessing to everyone. Each of us had instantaneous results. This is Saint Germain concerning his students, okay? They had instant results, instantaneous results, and we were all most speechless before the enormity of its power. We took a vow before the mighty God self in each that we would never use it except in service of divine love. You have all heard the phrase often, with God all things are possible. I tell you that you can so perfect yourselves and raise your consciousness into the pure essence of God that all things with you are possible as soon as you learn to direct this gigantic power by the love and wisdom of your own mighty I Am presence. The mighty I Am presence within you is supreme and victorious over everything in heaven and on earth. Place it first always and contemplate this mighty truth whenever you have a quiet moment. Of one thing you can be absolutely and eternally certain, that no one who is a real master will ever say so. Man, I've been telling y'all that shit because they don't have an ego. And that an ascended master never accepts payment of any kind for the help he gives, because the first qualification of true mastership is to do all as his glad free gift of his service of love to the world. The ascended master is absolutely fallible at all times, because he has passed out of the octave of vibratory action in which mistakes can occur. For he has become fully divine. By the raising of his body, all atomic structure has been changed into the electronic. Alright? He has reached the electronic body, basically. He sees with limitless vision and knows all because he uses only the all-knowing mind of God. Those masters who have attained even a very great degree of wisdom but have not yet raised the atomic body can and sometimes do color what they give out by their own personal concepts. For no one becomes infallible until he functions in his electronic body or the body of pure light, where no contamination or personal concept can exist. Now I find this interesting, so I'm going to go ahead and let it be said. The sun is not hot as scientists think. It is as cold as 1,000 times more refreshing than the gentle zephyrs of the most delightful summer evening. It is only as the sun's currents of energy pass through the ether belt of the earth that they become hot. The sun is the electronic pole and the earth is the magnetic pole. The ether belt is the element through which the currents are diversified. The Christ mind is embodied in the great beings up on the sun, similar to the way it is here on earth. Y'all don't hear that shit. Always keep this in mind. God sent forth his rays, individualizing himself in order to govern, regulate, and direct his activity through self-conscious beings. That is why we, as the sons of God, are given free will choice. Now, I feel this is much needed to say, so I'm going to go ahead and read it in now. First, love and admiration to his almighty presence, and then expand love and perfection by pouring it out to everyone and everything. Remember, I said in my video, the truth about the Messiah, that you can't qualify unless you have the betterment in your heart for humanity and all things. Listen, first love and admiration of his own mighty presence, of his mighty I am presence, and then expand love and perfection by pouring it out to everybody and everything. This is how you qualify to become a Christ. To send out divine love without limit all the time is the whole of the law applied. If mankind could only understand this, the individual would realize that he must pour out his flame of divine love before the perfection which he desires can flow into his world and release things into his use. Divine love is a feeling and actual ray of light which flows out from the flame within the heart. It can be sent forth so powerfully that this ray of light substance is both visible and tangible. It is the most invisible power of the universe. Use it, beloved ones, without limit, and nothing is impossible to you. The cosmic law acts, she continued, wherever the thought and feeling direct and qualify the energy. It is no respecter of person, places, condition, things, motive, ignorance, or knowledge, any more than is a current of electricity running through a motor or dynamo. If you turn on the power, it acts according to the direction given it. Alright, remember, the physical body is just a conductor, alright, for the mighty current. This is a point that many students do not seem to comprehend, or for which do not wish to take the responsibility. But the truth of the law is the only thing with which we are concerned. Therefore, never joke in thought, feeling, or the spoken word about the powers of the Godhead. For to do so without exception draws heartbreaking experiences into your world. Therefore, govern your outer moves with an inflexible will whenever you use the power of the mighty I Am presence. In order to manifest the greater expressions of the I Am presence, the individual must become aware and feel that presence. And the individual must become aware and of the field of that presence within himself, and know that the very life energy which beats his heart and breathes through his lungs is constantly flowing into his physical body from his electronic body. His electronic body is projected into space from the very heart center of the cosmic life of the universe, which you have heard us refer to as the great central sun. This pure life energy flowing seasonally into the mind and body of the individual is the triumph activity of the supreme acting everywhere throughout infinity. It is intelligence, substance, and energy, the one universal light out of which comes all manifestation. It is the subject at all times in the conscious direction and use of the individual, which self-conscious, individualized free will. The minerals, plants, and animals do not have the control of this activity. For only the flame of the Godhead is endued with self-directing free will. Speaking of us, the more attention one gives to the mighty I Am presence, the more he will learn of the vast realms of wisdom that stretch before him. The more he realizes the immense responsibility and limitless opportunity that are his, the more should he ask the mighty I Am presence within his own heart to teach him all things. Remember, Thoth was taught by the consuming flame, showing all wisdom. It was talking about the Kundalini. That's in the Emerald tablets. If one wants wisdom, he must turn his attention to the source of wisdom, the mighty I Am presence, aka Kundalini. Only by acknowledging the I Am can the first impulses be given, which release its wisdom into the outer use of the individual. It is by acknowledgement that the first wave flows forth to release it into the physical activity. Otherwise, it remains forever quiescent within the consciousness of the I Am. The releasement of it can only come at the command of the self-directing will of the flame of God. Alright? Learn to call forth these God attributes, activities at the very heart of the universe, and use them in love. Okay, anyway, this has been a thorough breakdown of the Kundalini. Alright? And because this video has been so long, I will not go into this book at this moment, but I will do a video strictly on Yoga Kundalini Upanishads, of what the ancient mystics have taught, and a little bit more detail concerning the Kundalini as far as meditation goes. But until then, y'all rewatch this video and study this motherfucker, because this has been class in session concerning the mighty God current Kundalini. Alright, until then, peace.